Hey, and welcome back to my channel. I am Stacy. Today I got a couple of movie reviews to do for you. Now these movies were going to have their own spotlight and their moment to shine, but they're similar genres, so I was like, you know what? Let's shove them all together because there have been some things I've read online and heard from others that made me question, do people really look at trailers and things? Like, I try to really be unbiased here, but it made me realize maybe I should do this review. As always, give this video a like if you like it, and leave a comment down below what you think of these movies after we've discussed. And click subscribe if you want to see more things like this. The movies I would like to discuss are The House with a Clock in Its Walls, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, The Addams Family, and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Now, as you can kind of tell, if you've even seen those trailers, how they're pretty similar. They all revolve around sorcery or magic or fantasy elements, so that's why I want to discuss these guys in particular. I want to start off with A House with a Clock in Its Walls. Well, before I even get into that, I want to discuss MPAA ratings. What is that? Because I'm going to be talking about that here in a little bit. MPAA ratings are something that we have here in the United States. It is a guideline for viewers to determine what is in the film they're about to watch. So, House with a Clock in Its Walls is rated PG. Why is it PG? Because it has sorcery, some action, scary images, rude humor, and language. And Sorcerer's Apprentice, it's PG because it's fantasy action violence, some mild rude humor, brief language. Addams Family, PG because it's got macabre and suggestive humor and some action. So you see, they list out why they think it's PG, and it gives you an idea of what is in the film, what you're signing yourself up for. So you take that information along with the trailer that you have just watched, and it helps you make an informed decision of whether or not that's something you want to watch, or is it something that you would allow your children to watch, etc., etc. Now that we've got the MPAAs out of the way, House with a Clock in Its Walls. As we discussed, it is PG, and I am as open-minded as they come. A lot doesn't offend me. But that being said, I honestly believe this film should have been PG-13 and not PG. Now, back to the rating system. PG is parental guidance. Some material may not be suitable for children. PG-13, some material may not be suitable for preteens. And the reasoning I believe it should have been PG-13 instead of PG is for one scene, and one scene in particular. It's when the characters go to the graveyard and Lewis is trying to impress another kid and he performs necromancy. That in itself is a little more of an elevated material. It's a little darker, but that scene in itself wasn't enough. It's the next scene where he has to perform blood magic in order to make the spell work. And it was that moment I was like, really? PG still, not PG-13 with blood magic involved. Wow, okay. That shocked me. And that's not something you would have gathered from the trailer or the MPAA rating, and so I just wanted to bring that out in case for whatever reason you haven't seen the movie yet and you didn't know it was in there. Just, hey, that's in there just so you knows. Because obviously certain parents would not want their kids exposed to that type of material, and I completely understand that and I get it. I mean, you're already dealing with a storyline that involves sorcery and magic, so would you really raise a fuss at that point? Maybe not, but at the same time, that is more elevated material, and that's why I think it should have went to PG-13 and not PG, but that's just me. So, moving on, well, no, not moving on. Also, there is scenes where There's a character that shapeshifts, and it's not that it ever gets graphic, but the motion, you know, it's a bunch of jerky movements, and the character shapeshifts, so that can be scary images to a child. There's a scene where Jack Black, it's his head, but the body of a baby. The animatronics, fantastic. They did a wonderful job. It looks so realistic, but again, that at any age could be, you know, creepy to any age. So there are definitely aspects in the film, but overall, yes, there are wonderful moments. There's a scene where Jack Black allows Lewis to interact with the galaxy or constellations or whatever, and that is so beautifully shot. I mean, it's wonderful. And there are good solid scenes in it, but just know there are darker elements in this film, and you may not you can kind of get the vibe when you watch the trailer because of the soundtrack they insert in it. It does have that ominous dark feel to it, so you can kind of get a glimpse of that from the trailer. But obviously, if you don't know directors and producers, this part does not matter to you. But the director on this film was Eli Roth. And obviously, if you don't know who Eli Roth is, you don't know him. But Eli Roth has directed other movies such as Hostel, The Green Inferno, Cabin Fever. And if you've seen those movies, they are very much a hard R gore film. And that's not to say that Eli Roth cannot branch out into other genres, but at the same time, I can see those elements kind of creep in and see his style seep into the way he directed this movie. Like I said, there are a lot of darker elements, and it come easy for him, obviously, because he's used to that. Now, again, this is strictly the movie. I have not seen I have not read the book, the source material, so it could be on brand for that. I don't know. Moving on to The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now, this one, PG as well, but I believe it is a solid PG. It has moments where it could go darker, but at those moments they always rein it back in with some kind of comedic aspect, and they never really let it get to that darker place. So they had a really good balance with The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Like I said, it does deal with sorcery as well, but it's more of kind of similar to like Mickey Mouse, the Fantasia and all that. So it's more tame than like A House with a Clock in its Walls. So moving into The Addams Family. Now, this one, I wasn't going to talk about it. I wasn't, because everybody knows who The Addams Family is, or so I thought. I started seeing comments pop up, and I was I was shocked at the comments. I'm like, because they were talking about that the house was possessed, that they talked about demon babies or something, that they were odd and liked creepy things, and I'm like, have you never heard of The Addams Family? Have you never heard of the theme song? They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. It's in the theme song. Why are the things I'm hearing you complain about is the thing that makes the Addams Family who they are? You're talking about a possessed house. Well, yeah, that's who they are. They want that. They don't find that creepy and crazy, and that's their way of living. You know, that's who they are. So why are you complaining about these things when that is literally who the family is? You see this in the trailer. You see how I keep bringing the trailers and things back in. You see this. It's not like it's coming out of left field and you see it and you're like taken by surprise and like, I cannot believe they put that in there. They didn't let us know that. Like, you've seen it, okay? I try to remain unbiased here, but you see it. With the Addams Family, I did finally get around to watching it because, again, I wanted to see what everybody was talking about. And when I watched it, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the Addams Family. Of course, that's who they are. That being said, I personally didn't care for it. It was very boring to me. But the reasoning I found it boring was two things. First, it had to have been somebody's decision to do this because the mother and daughter spoke in the same manner and father and son spoke in the same manner. I had no issues with Gomez and Pugsley. Loved their voice actors. Oscar, Finn, love them. Now, that's not to say I don't love Charlize Theron and Chloe Grace Moretz. I love them as actresses. However, I don't like the style of the way they spoke. Now, throughout this video, I know I have been slow speaking here and there in points, but it's not a conscious effort on my part. This was a conscious effort on their part. They spoke like this and decided this is the way they should talk because apparently this is the way you talk when you're being sad and depressed and emo. And you just talk like this. That drove me insane the entire film. I'm like, speed it up just a little bit. Like, I understand I speak a little faster when I'm filming these videos than I would talk in everyday life. But I know these videos get long-winded, and so I feel the need. I have to speak a little faster in these videos, so it's not as long as it is. But that being said, I can't stand really slow speaking. It drives me insane. And as a good bit of the film focused on Wednesday's aspect in her life, I had to listen to it. And so the last maybe 20-30 minutes of the film with Pugsley and his storyline, I was so pumped and ready for that. I loved that part of the film. Anything with Pugsley, I loved that part of the film. Also, Nick Kroll as Fester. Honey, why did you do that with your voice? Did that not kill your voice having to speak in that manner? It was very scratchy and voicey and like that the whole time. And I'm like, that had to have killed your voice, hon. But, you know, it made it an interesting character. But those were the only two things. I don't know, the other thing. Second thing, that reason I just, it was alright, is they tried too much with making them creepy and mysterious and spooky. They just, every chance they got, every scene that was introduced, a new scene, like, we're already established with who the Addams family are, you know. You've done showed us that they got, you know, a hand that walks around, and they got, you know, the butler, and all those aspects. We've done seen things up to this point. Every time we get introduced to the family, it doesn't have to be something dramatic again. We get who they are. And so it was just too much at times. And to go in with that, not because of her hairstyle. I couldn't care less that her style of hair was in noose this time. But Wednesday, instead of the traditional braids, they made it in a noose. Some people may have issues with that, but that is on brand for that character. That's not something that character wouldn't do. You know, it's not out of left field for her to have done that. It fits. So I wasn't mad about it. It's just at that point I was like, of course her hair is in a noose. Of course. Let's just be extra at this point. That's why I was like not thrilled with it by that point. Now we're going to get into Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This film is rated PG-13. It has terror and violence. It has disturbing images, thematic elements including racial slurs. It has brief sexual references, which I don't remember that, but it had to have been there. And yes, this film definitely should have been PG-13 for the disturbing images, for the terror, the violence, the racial slurs. There were enough things in it that elevated it overall to make it PG-13. I can understand House with a Clock in its Walls. It was only that one scene, but I don't know. I still I still have issues, okay? But this one, again, if you don't know producers, you don't know them, but this one is produced by Guillermo del Toro, and I love him. I love that he wants to do practical effects. He's done Pan's Labyrinth. So, practical effects, the blob woman thing, the jangly man, the toe missing person thing, all of those are actual people behind those things. And that's what I love about Guillermo, is he wants to do practical things as much as he can. And then, I mean, of course there's going to be some CGI into it, but he wants something physical there that you can see with your own eyes, and that elevates it, I believe, for the actors. Because can you imagine, as an actor, getting to actually see and interact with this huge, staggering blob figure, or getting the contortionist that they had brought in and seeing this person crawl up behind you backwards? Could you imagine seeing that and being able to actually react to that on screen in that moment, versus having a tennis ball on a stick to have to interact with? So I think it just elevated that next notch, being able to do that and taking the time to do those practical effects, and they are so wonderful. And the scene I want to bring up to kind of correlate and bring back everything is the scarecrow. Obviously we have the spider scene and the other ones that I was talking about, but I want to talk about the scarecrow because it is disturbing image, but it never gets graphic, and they always cut away at just the right moment. So you'll have the straw coming through the character's face, but you're not necessarily seeing it up close of that straw coming through. You're seeing the straw coming out at the camera, and then you're hearing the sound effect of the and all this, and it's just the sound effects mixed with the right scenes, and it just all comes together so wonderfully, and it sounds so disgusting and wonderful that it makes it seem so realistic. And that is what I love. And it sounds morbid to say that, but it looks and it sounds so phenomenal. It just brings you into the film and makes it that much more believable. And that's why, appropriately, it gets the PG-13. But yeah, hopefully talked about all these. You could see how they were all interconnected. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about these movies. Did you agree with what I had to say? Did you think House with a Clock in Its Wall should have been PG-13? Let me know down below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see more things like this. Till next time, I'll see you guys. Bye.